Hi, my name's Amy Andrew. I'm a professional boxer and I'm 34 weeks pregnant.
My name's Grace Keene. I'm a specialist pelvic health physiotherapist at CHHP on Harley Street, and I've been supporting Amy during her pregnancy.
There's like loads of exercises that I wasn't sure if I was like allowed to do or not allowed to do, but I kind of want to stay fit and not get too fat while I'm pregnant. And I'm not very good at doing these kinds of exercises, so I don't really know what to do. I just normally like punch people and like run. So this has been really helpful.
We've refined it slightly, haven't we, for
yeah.
you? I think one of Amy's big questions was kind of which were the big muscle groups that are kind of important to keep working on during pregnancy. So we've narrowed it down to sort of 5 key areas, haven't we? But there's lots of other stuff out there as well, but maybe if we demo some of those and
all right, cool.
run through it together. So we discussed quite a lot around core previously when we were chatting. So I think if we maybe try an exercise that's quite a nice core one. Ideally, the key thing with core is not to do anything that's crunch based. We don't do lots of sit-up type stuff. And lots of people are quite uncomfortable at this stage of pregnancy lying on their back. It feels a bit heavy.
Yeah.
So if you come down to the mat onto all fours for me, and we'll do something called a hover. Or some people call it kind of a bear crawl prep position. So in this position, if you keep your toes tucked under and take a nice breath in, as you breathe out, you're just going to pull in those pelvic floor muscles in your lower tummy. Brilliant, and lift up. Keep the weight evenly spread between your hands and your toes and keep breathing. So Amy should, I imagine, be starting to feel this a little bit in the tummy. And then you'd hold it for as long as we think's important for how far along in your training you are. So we might start with 15 seconds or 30 until it feels quite hard work, and then we'd lower down, popping knees back onto the mat.
Cool.
And then we can
What about
repeat
doing
that.
plank? Is that, are you allowed to do that?
Yeah, you can do a plank. The key thing we'd be looking for is how your tummy reacts to a plank position. So for some people, it's something called coning.
Okay.
Or you might feel lots of pressure down into your pelvis. And that's a sign that planks may be a bit hard for you. But planks you can also make harder or easier.
Or if you tip your hips up and stuff, is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Or you can do them on your knees.
Yeah.
Or if actually they feel too easy, you can do things like lifting an arm or a leg or shoulder taps if you're really advanced with it. But we just kind of assess and see what tummy's doing and go from there.
Cool.
And then the next big one we looked at was calves. So particularly someone who does lots of running.
Yeah.
We're thinking about kind of swelling and circulation. Your calves are really important in managing some of that. So if we do something like a calf raise, I would always suggest doing it off a step or a block, just so you've got a bit more height in it, so you can get a bit more range. And we just do it knees nice and straight, heels coming all the way down, and then coming up as high as you can, trying to work both legs evenly. And then another version of that works slightly different muscle groups, doing the same thing but with your knees bent. So you're working lower down into the calf. So you can try both of those and see how they feel.
Okay, cool. So this is good for strength and also circulation?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just kind of working on calf strength. Lovely. Holding on's always quite nice because it's a difficult one to balance on, and we're not trying to work
Plus,
on
I'm
your
like
balance.
very like.
Yeah, absolutely. Your balance would have shifted hugely.
Yeah, so that's that one, and then this one's here.
Yeah, so the knees
like
perfect are coming towards me.
All right, cool.
And you can probably feel that's a little bit lower down in your calf.
Cool, nice.
Nice.
Thank you.
They're really good ones. The other muscle group that I think is really important that sometimes gets a bit overlooked is around the back and upper body.
Okay.
Particularly once baby's here, it's a lot of time holding a little person that weighs a few kilos.
Yeah.
And lots of people end up with things, or some people I should say, end up with things like carpal tunnel, which is sort of pins and needles and discomfort in the arms just from that repetitive gripping and holding.
Yeah.
If you're breast or bottle feeding, again, it's lots of time in this sort of position.
Yeah.
So anything we can do to keep the upper back nice and strong is a really good thing to be doing.
Okay, cool.
Anything around your deltoids, so people do kind of fly type movements, lat pull downs, rowing, all of that's quite good. And simple one you can repeat sort of at home or in the gym is something like a bent over row with a weight. So if you're comfortable leaning forward and you're not getting dizzy, then coming into this position and you're rowing up by your hip, just lifting a weight, and we can vary that weight depending on how difficult you want to make it.
Right, cool.
But that's one basic movement of many you can try. Do you want to give it a go?
Cool.
See how you feel.
Like this?
Yeah, that's it. And then the idea is if we're going to bring the arm back a bit, so you're coming right up by your hip with the weight.
Got it.
And that way you're feeling it a bit more here rather than just in the bicep.
Oh yeah, okay, cool.
So that's a bent over row. Nice and simple. And I guess the other big one we discuss quite a lot is around cardio.
Oh yeah.
And we talked about your running journey and kind of stop and start. And for a lot of people, this last bit of pregnancy, keeping up cardio, whether it's running because you're starting to feel a bit breathless or a bit heavier, can be challenging. Or sitting on a bike can be quite tough because tummy's just getting in the way.
Yeah.
But it's still quite important to keep raising your heart rate, and it gives you all those endorphins and makes you feel good.
And then what level? Because some people are like, oh, you should still be able to talk while you run, type thing. Or like, is that you don't go too mad, but you do enough that you're getting tired? Yeah,
really good question. So the key thing is that you should still be able to talk in full sentences.
Okay.
So if you're doing stuff so that you're completely breathless and you're kind of having to hold onto your legs and pant, then you've probably pushed it a bit too hard.
Cool, so I can avoid the hill sprints for now.
Yep, you can skip those ones out and I'll miss them with you. But anything where you're getting your heart rate up, you're starting to feel a little bit sweaty. And then the big things are exercising in a cool space.
All right, cool.
So you're not overheating and drinking lots of water. Making sure you're nice and hydrated. So if you maybe grab the 2 dumbbells, a nice way to do a little cardio complex that doesn't, sorry, I'll move my phone out your way, involve doing anything too long distance, like what they call an EMOM. It comes from the world of CrossFit.
Okay.
And you'd set up a timer maybe for 6 minutes, and what it stands for is every minute on the minute you do a movement.
Okay.
So if we do the first one as kind of a sit to stand with the dumbbells, so you're going to squat back, and then you're going to come up and press them overhead. And we'd maybe aim to do in the first minute 30 of those and see if you can get 30 in.
Okay.
And see how you're feeling with that, and we can drop it down. Or
I'm just going to do like demo 5 because I feel like that gets me at my best.
Cool. And then we can switch to doing like a dumbbell cross punch. So you all know better than me, but kind of taking your hips with you, punching across, or working kind of a bit of everything as well.
Like people talk about twisting. Is it all right to twist?
Yeah. So because you're taking your lower body with you, that's absolutely fine. So all of you's rotating.
Got it.
That's fine. What we'd want to avoid at the stage of pregnancy is keeping your hips square and twisting the upper body. So really good question again. And again, it won't feel nice. You'll feel it pulling in your groins. It feels uncomfortable in the tummy, and that's not a nice thing to do. And then the last one you could add on as part of that cardio complex is a ski erg using dumbbells. So you'd squat down and then raise the weights up to kind of just above eye line. And I would highly recommend staring at something for this one because balance is the big challenge.
Got it. All right, cool, nice. Yes. You did those 3 for a minute and then repeat.
Yeah, so you might do, you get to 1 minute and you try and do 30 in that first minute, then you do the next block, and then you'd rotate it. And then as you get more tired, you basically get less rest time, and that's how it's challenging. But we'd gauge it and see what your level, what level you're at, and then we might get you to do more or less reps.
They're surprisingly tiring, those.
Yeah, it's because it uses everything. So it's quite a nice way to get something out of some cardio without having to go for a long run unless you wanted to.
All right, cool. Thank you so much. I'll get super fit, then I'll come back and get some more ideas. Thank you very much.
No problem, my pleasure.